All right, is it time to pull the plug on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? According to the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee, Congressman Barney Frank, the answer to that question is yes.
I think they should be abolished. The only question is, what do you put in their place? This is a situation where, given the importance they had come to play in housing, you can't tear down the old jail until you built a new one, and that's a process that we've started.
And we're back in Casone's corner right now. Mark, I want to go to you first. All right, so first we were talking about nationalizing these guys. How about, Mark, just getting rid of them altogether?
This is the biggest flip-flop I've ever heard. Frank, just a couple, not too long ago, they were talking about in congressional hearings that this could never happen. I mean, this is crazy, but I agree with the concept because what needs to happen is if you take Freddie and Fannie, you take away their government charter, and then you let them go back to the free markets. They don't currently pay any income taxes. They have unlimited borrowing from the Fed, and you make them work as free market instruments. You'll have all kinds of innovative new free market thinking come in. I agree with them. Do away with them. Privatize them. Let's move on. Get unemployment knocked down. Get free markets working here.
Yeah, but Erica, would the average American ever look at Fannie and Freddie again as a private company? I mean, that has been the problem with the perception of Fannie and Freddie.
Yeah, I don't think you privatize them. I think you just get rid of them. But what you want to do is take whichever function you want to keep and put that somewhere else. So, for example, like I was saying earlier, the 30-year mortgage is just not a product that exists in very many countries around the world because it's not a very profitable product and you can't, there's not a market for it. And so that's a place where perhaps we may decide that the government should have a role in creating a 30-year mortgage, in which case you would want to have some other entity to take care of it. Fannie and Freddie just need to go the way of the dodo bird,
Okay, let me bring in Todd Schoenberger into this one because, Todd, I mean, we were talking about vultures earlier. Now we're talking about, or Barney Frank is about just abolishing.
Well, look, both of you are wrong, by the way, and here's why. You can't privatize both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. You just can't do it. Listen, home ownership in this country right now stands at 66.9%. 1 year ago, 67.4%. Guess what the historical average is for home ownership in this country? It's 64%. If you get rid of Fannie and Freddie, you know what's going to happen to interest rates? They're going to go up. Mortgage rates are going to spike higher. That's the golden goose right now for the housing industry, and they still can't sell homes right now. What are you going to do? You can't take that away. Obviously, something needs to be done, but right now you just can't privatize them until you get down to that historical rate of 64%.
Liz MacDonald?
Look, other countries didn't have a Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Australia, Britain, Denmark. There was no Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They have comparable home ownership rates. We are the only country in the world with the most intrusive government intervention into the housing market, and look at where it got us. It got us with lousy paper securities now dumped on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. So how do you get out of it? You do a runoff, and I think Erica's right. You have to do a slow runoff and break them up. Break them up, but it's going to take time to absorb that $5.6 trillion of paper on their books, which is about 11% of the entire GDP of the entire planet. So that's a lot.
And Mark Matson, I mean, that's a good point here is that, you talk about wanting to privatize Fannie and Freddie, but you do need to have somebody else on the other side to back up the mortgage market. And right now, besides Lou Ranieri, we don't really have anybody.
Well, here's the problem. They're talking about the $5 trillion that somebody has to quote-unquote pay for. The reality is the properties are only worth what they're worth. The mortgages are only worth what they're worth. Just artificially propping this stuff up only creates more bubble and then makes the free markets unable to operate. So, this idea that we need government intervention to prop things up, that's what caused the problem to begin with.
Erica,
who's going to pay for the $5.7 billion?
Cheryl, this is a really important point. I mean, this is the problem. If you're flying a plane through the air, which is what we've been doing, and all of a sudden you rip off the two wings, it's going to crash. One of the reasons in the earlier segment where you all were talking about the vultures doing the loan modifications, one of the reasons that they're able to do that effectively is because they're not dealing with the banks. And when you're dealing with the banks don't want to deal with the vulture lenders because they're going to have to write down their balance sheets because the vulture lenders buy those mortgages at such a lower principal. And so as soon as you start seeing banks writing down these principal to where they probably should be, the whole financial sector is going to be in crisis again, exactly how it was. And I want to clarify one point, which is about Fannie and Freddie. This is not something you can do tomorrow. This is something that you need to set as a goal, 10 years from now, and then you need to let the market slowly absorb those changes.
Well, the good news is there's a lot of opinions and voices out there. Thanks to both of you for sticking around Casone's Corner today. Mark Matson, great to see you, sir. And of course,
Thanks.
Erica Payne.
Thanks a lot, y'all.
Thanks to both of